Superintendent's Information Committee meeting for January 5th at 7:07. Start with pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, special reports. IUN number 7, Mr. Penn.
Mr. President, we did not have a December meeting, so I have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Libraries Legislative Council, Dr. Trey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just two quick items. One, 10 area libraries make a concerted effort just before the holiday to try to become increasingly more involved in our school activities. They're making a commitment, which they intend to propose, and I've already addressed this to Dr. Harris, to try to match up as much as possible and support a role with our existing curriculum and other innovative ideas as a part of our process. So they, in an age where oftentimes libraries are considered to be obsolete, we saw that again with the Westmoreland County cutting the library budget for next year already just recently. At a time when libraries have lost effectiveness, they're going to make a game fight to try to make sure they're proving some value, some worth to the school system to benefit our kids. So it should be interesting and innovative. They're going to go through the principals, as through Dr. Harris's approval, and also through the librarians to try to match up. So it will be a value. That's the first item. The second thing relates to only a general comment, because we have to watch this very carefully. Education is changing so abruptly in Pennsylvania, and there are abrupt changes. We saw it already with recent jointures, school systems coming together and merging, and when they're voluntarily, they're working very well. But the thing right now that's standing in the forefront, where everybody's watching what's happening to York school system. York school system could dramatically change how education goes if it stays as the present ruling exists, which is basically dissolving the school system, which is in trouble. We have at least 60 school systems in Pennsylvania, probably the same category. That is going to be, the system is being dissolved, and under the recent court order, that a private corporation will take over the York school system and run it. The board will be dissolved, other than for the possibility of raising taxes, which that is a threat. And it's being watched all over the state of Pennsylvania. There's an appeal process in right now because so much is at stake. Everything in the educational program is, as we know, is suspended should that process take place. And again, we got 60 other school systems in the state of Pennsylvania in roughly the same category. This could be a massive change. And they're long, as we can all imagine, there's a long change of a rippling effect that could affect us all. If not us directly, certainly the school systems around us, who in turn could impact on us. So enough in generalities. Watch for it. It's in the forefront right now. And that's all I have this time, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Trey. Career Tech, Mr. Patrice.
Thank you, Mr. President. On December 17th, we had our reorganization meeting and also our Christmas feast. And I'd like to thank Mr. Nemi, Mr. Chassie, and Dr. Harris for coming. The rest of you, no sympathy from me. You missed an excellent meal, and I will go through a detail of that with you shortly here. The renovations are 99% complete. They hope by the end of March everything will be done satisfactorily. So far, we've kept everything within budget. We have not asked for any extra money for any school district. The $6 million project will be done exactly as we planned it 2 years ago, and it's now it's done very well. The new officers are Mr. Carl Spooty, our president. Mr. Bill Brasco is going to be our vice president. The cosmetology project should be done by our February meeting. We're hoping it to be 100% complete, and that there is also no additional funds, and taken it strictly from our fund balance, and we will replenish that $60,000 a year. Total bill is $130,000 after 2 years, or a little more than 2 years. It'll all be paid off. Now for the meal, and I have witnesses here. The appetizers: vegetable tray, fruit tray, meat and cheese tray, mayonnaise potatoes, they're with onions, Swedish meatballs, tacos and salads, stuffed grape leaves, and a dessert table with cookies and cupcakes. That was your appetizer. Now, your Main course, dinner menu included herb salad with pistachios and fennel, beef sirloin kebabs and roasted red pepper dipping sauce, chicken sliders and tomato chutney, beef and sweet potato fries, Christmas rice pilaf, cream of tomato Florentine soup, caramel apple cheesecake, peanut butter pie fudge, and the cream puffs with a swan decorated was perfect. That was perfect. That cream filling was just excellent. Those of you missed out, you missed out on a special treat. And our next meeting. Pardon me?
No caviar this year.
Was there? I didn't see any caviar.
There was last year.
Yeah. Well, where was you at, by the way?
Oh, man, if something come up,
Hey,
I wanted to be there.
And it was asked, because you're there, you're always raving about it. I won't miss this, I won't miss this, and you was a no-show.
Hit me at the last minute, I couldn't make it, it was a family deal.
Well, your loss, believe it or not.
I'll tell you.
It was your loss.
I'll tell
Okay,
you.
and our next meeting, Mr. President, is January 21st.
All right, thank you, Mr. Petrucci. Recreation Boards, Penn Township.
No meeting this month, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chassie. Trafford Borough, Mr. Petrucci.
All right, we had a meeting last Monday, and went through our budget, and it was at the 29th, and we're still, we're waiting for the Trafford Borough to finish up West Warren Park, so we can reapply again for our grant, $127,000, I believe, is for the new Fairmont Playground. We have $30,000, we just paid off our Morris Knowles, who's also helping us out, I believe, here with our sewage work here. We just paid them off. $4,500 so far. We still have a balance of $30,797. Once if that Fairmont Playground gets approved, I think $22,000 that'll be gone. And the auction is, we put the placards up yesterday. Mr. Pete Ludwig, and he helped me out, and 30-year-old guy just moved in Trafford, Level Green, and young father, and very helpful, very strong boy. It's nice to have a nice, strong arm. That makes a big difference. And the auction will be the 28th, and using this money also for extra playground equipment, supplies, playground personnel, and also for BY Park. And the next meeting, I believe, is going to be the 26th of January.
The auction's February 28th, right?
28th, yes.
February.
Yeah, February 20th, we did. I got the third of the parking meters complete now, that all you need is a little screwdriver to open them up, and so the novelty will still be going on, and I was gonna try to clean them up, but they says you'll get more money as is, so that saved me a lot, 'cause I tried a little bit of aluminum wheel cleaner on it, and those have been since the 50s, so they're, they're a novelty on it, but it should be good. And the school district, again, I can't thank them enough. Very, very, very cooperative. Very cooperative. That's Mr. Bracco, Dr. Harris, all the people down in Trafford. I can't thank them enough. Without them, this would never fly. They bend over backwards. I mean, I helped them get rid of some older stuff, but overall, they greatly take care of the youth in Trafford. Very, very nice. And also Level Green. A lot of Level Green kids come down and use a lot of Trafford facilities. That's all again, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Petrucci. Penn Borough, Dr. Trey.
No formal report until next one.
All right, thank you. PTARC, Mr. Petrucci, once again.
Okay, the PTARC meeting is next Monday, okay, but something I want to announce here, and Dr. Harris, he sent me a fly email, and Linda Byer said that we, unfortunately, Mrs. Issing, because of her work situation, now she has to resign, and also another young lady named Tracy Laser, her maiden name is Prementine from Trafford. I knew both their parents very well. Her husband's being transferred to Fort Wayne, Indiana, I believe what the email said. All right, that man? Fort Wayne, Indiana. And we now have the PTARC board is made up of 9 people, 4 from the school district, 2 from Penn Township, and 1 from each of the small boroughs. And I know Manor's leaving, and I guess we'll have to reorganize that. But right now, we have Cap, Dr. Harris, and myself, but we need another person to step up, and they're volunteers. And Tracy was from the public, and she just went through the board, we approved her. So it does not necessarily have to be a school director or administrator, but we also will accept anybody from the community, that's interested in serving on a PTARC board. But it has to go through the That's go through the school district, wherever we decide putting it. If there's anybody, administrators or any of our board members who want to be on a PTARG board, we meet 4 o'clock the first Monday, except for this Monday here. We're not meeting because we're allowing the small boroughs to reorganize. And so our meeting's gonna be next Monday as well. Okay, but it's open and we can advertise, hope we get that filling, but, and filling as soon as possible. We lost 2 very nice ladies, very nice ladies, hard workers. That's all again, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Petrucci. PTCEF, Dr. Harris.
For the foundation, we'll host the second annual PT Got Talents, January 24th at the high school. 17 different acts from the elementary, middle, and high school will perform. It was a great event last year. We are hoping that this year we even do better. Do you have anything you want to add, Phil? Because you actually were the pioneer who came up with this
Tickets are
idea.
on sale now for $8 a piece. I expect everybody to be there from the board to cheer on these kids. It's an excellent event, and I thank Amy for all the work that she does, Amy Kelly, that is the spearhead of this whole entire thing. But I look forward to it. It was a really good time last year, and on to bigger and better things this year. These kids have all put in a lot of hours, working hard to prepare and show us all the talents they have. So I really would appreciate the support of the board members, administration, to come and support these kids in the event.
Phil, how many acts are there?
17 acts.
How many?
17.
It's a really good time. I'm telling you. When I brought my daughter last year, she was just amazed at it inspires, I guess, is a good word for it.
What was the date again?
24th of January.
The tickets are available now at the offices, right, Matt?
Yes.
And you can buy them at the night. It starts at 6 o'clock. I believe the doors open.
Saturday night. Good event.
Yeah, it's a nice winter event. Nothing else to do. Come on out and support the district.
And today, a nice way to start the school year off. The very first piece of mail I opened was a $5,000 anonymous check for our foundation. So I really appreciate starting the year off.
Wow.
That's always a nice way to start the day. So good for a foundation. All the money goes right back to the kids, the schools, and we raise a lot of funds. And actually, I already say, if you ever want to join an organization, please consider becoming a part of the foundation. We have a good time too. So a lot of work, a lot of fun. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr.
Oh,
Harris.
excuse me 1 second. Right here's a gentleman that could speak highly of the whole process itself, given the chance.
Mr. Ritter, how many grants have you received from our foundation?
3 or 4.
3 or 4. I think you applied almost every time.
Oh yeah, why not, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll find something.
Beat selling pies, huh?
Now, how many, besides the foundation, how many outside grants or money have you brought into your program?
Well, a couple years ago, actually Elizabeth was in that group, we won this too from West Penn Power. That's $25,000.
Yeah.
So that allowed us to put things in place to actually offer those new TV classes next year. Without that piece of equipment, we wouldn't be able to offer that. So that was a big one.
What about the Rouge Sports donation that you went out and got for the district?
Yeah, I just happened to. I'm not gonna lie, I lucked into that one.
You still
I was in the right place at the right time.
did it. A lot of people would have just.
A lot of the stuff that they gave us was on the border of being obsolete, SD, or just way overkill for our workflow. But they did donate a ton of stuff to us. I was able to incorporate as much of it as I could, but some of it was just, not usable. But we've done pretty well for ourselves back there.
We appreciate it. Keep us going. And a
We
lot
have
of
that
kids-
GoFundMe thing going right now, and we get $400 or $500 last month.
400 or 500.
So $30 helps.
Well, forgive me if I forget the student's name, but I don't know if she was a student of yours. She was just, there was an article in the Tribune Review about.
That was the year before I started. here.
Okay.
I'm actually going to get in touch
But did
with
she
her.
go through the same program that
I
you're
don't know.
offering?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what
That would have been a really good poster thing for your program, that's
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, thank you.
I'll take the credit for it, though.
Okay. I was hoping that was the answer.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Prior to tonight's meeting, we held an executive session to discuss personnel, potential claims that may result in litigation, and to receive information. Now information, Dr. Harris.
I only have one thing, and that's for academic relations.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Hank from Axis Architecture give us the update on the construction project. Before I do that, I just want to give you an update on the sanitary system. As you know, we have some emergency repairs that need to be done to the sanitary lines, which are really not a part of this project, but in doing the project, we found out that there's some issues that need to be addressed immediately. So we put the documents together. We got them out to about 10 contractors, so we are waiting to open those bids up. That is scheduled for January 8th at 10 a.m. in the administration building. So we'll open them up. Hopefully we get some good prices, and we hope to begin. We'll approve the contract and on January 12th meeting, and then hopefully get the work done shortly thereafter. So that's the timeline. Hank, you ready to give the update? We got a lot of work done over Christmas. It was a good time. All the contractors were up here working. Got some things done. You can see some walls going up on the annex. Skylight got put in. Finished up some areas, but I won't steal your thunder.
I was going to say, keep going, and I don't have to say anything. To expand a little bit on what Scott had said about the sanitary lines, we're also working on doing that project as a supplemental contract to the current high school PlanCon project that allows you to be eligible for reimbursement on that. So there's a revision to Part F that we're working on getting into the state, and there's a Part I that we wouldn't typically turn in until after the contract reaches 3% change orders for $300,000. We can do a supplemental Part I now early to allow that to happen. So bottom line is all of that will keep you eligible for reimbursement. The nice thing about a sanitary line replacement is you're eligible for your full amount of reimbursement. It's not a factor off of your FTEs. So whatever your aid ratio is in the district, that percentage would, if reimbursement becomes available, would be eligible for reimbursement. For instance, if it's a $300,000 project and your aid ratio is 33%, that's $100,000 that you would get back. And I'm sure your aid ratio is not that high. That's just an easy number to use as an example. So that's all going forward. Part G is another thing that has been in with the state for quite some time. They're reviewing it now because of the urgency. It's a cart before the horse thing. They have to approve G and get you that before they can approve I. And I, you have to get your approval letter for I before you can sign your contracts for this supplemental contract for the sanitary lines in order to make sure you keep your reimbursement. So we'll make sure all that happens, and you don't sign contracts before you get your I letter. As far as what Scott was saying, the project is still tracking on schedule, if not slightly ahead of schedule. The contractors did work over the break and did get a lot of things completed. The site work is ongoing. They've installed the guide rail at the bus loop. They're working, they've got the excavation done for the retaining wall at the new tennis courts. That's scheduled to be installed here in early January. The new transformer out back by the garage portion of your new annex, that's been installed. And the site work around the annex is continuing and ongoing. So they've made some progress there. The music area has been turned over. You're using the music area now. The contractors are just finishing up some small punch list items in that area. The administration area is still ongoing. The principal has moved into his space. The casework has been installed recently. They're waiting on some things, some doors and some custom windows for the reception counters and things along those lines. But that's all ongoing and is moving right along. The new English area has also been turned over to the school, and it's being used. All that's left are some punch list items that the contractors are working on there. The math area is moving right along. They're making a lot of progress on that. It's actually tracking really ahead of the completion date and is scheduled to be turned back over to the school end of January, beginning of February, which is several weeks ahead of when the schedule said it would be. They've got all the demolition done. They've started painting. They're doing ceiling work. They're starting with flooring. So that's moving right along. The nurses area is also moving right along. The drywall's completed. They've painted. They're working on ceilings and then flooring in that area, and that will be ready to be turned over. The library, like Scott said, over the break, they were able to swing the skylight over and get that installed. So they installed the skylight when nobody was in the building because it had to be done with a crane, and they want to swing that over an occupied building. That was completed. They're working on installing the rest of the glass in the skylight now. As soon as that's complete, they can start the demolition work inside the library that's related to the skylight, and you'll be able to see what's going on there. The annex, all the major excavation is completed. The foundations are poured. The block walls are starting to go up. That's moving right along. And in the lower annex, they're scheduled to have steel delivered in the next couple of weeks. That won't start being installed until after the block gets up to bearing point, because the majority of that annex building is a masonry bearing structure. So the block has to get up to the bearing point for the steel, then they can set the steel and keep moving.
The weather cooperates, the annex should be hopefully done in November, December, correct, in our timeline?
If the weather cooperates, one of the things that is weather sensitive is if we get a lot of weather like what the next couple of days are going to be, the specifications are clear on when the contractors can lay block, when they can't lay block, what precautions they have to take if they want to lay block in sub-zero weather. And one of the things that they have to do in sub-zero weather is they have to scaffold and tent the entire wall. They do not plan on doing that. What they plan on doing is laying block anytime the temperature is between 32 and 40 degrees, which you'll get a lot of those days this time of year anyway. And with that, they add accelerants to the mortar, they heat the water for the mortar, they do some other things that the specifications tell them that they can do, and then they're allowed to work without having to tent the whole building. So it's weather sensitive work this time of year in Western PA with it being outside. There aren't any change orders to report this month, so that's all good. That's pretty much the end of the report that I got from the construction manager. Questions? Yeah.
Hank, what is the report for the final report for the scoping of all the internal sewage lines for this school?
As far as I know, the contractor has not turned the final report over to the construction manager yet. It is due here in January. They've done their work. From what I understand, there are several spots where there's a belly here or there in the pipe, but it's not. From my understanding, the preliminary reports are it's nothing compared to what the outside work was. There's a couple things here and there.
Do you think the board will hear the final report?
My thought would be in February you would hear the final report, because we should. My understanding is the construction manager is supposed to get it this month.
We'll get a hold of the plumber, Vrabel, and see what they say.
Yeah,
I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Yeah, it'd be very good if there was no.
Hopefully I can give you an update on Monday.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. Change of command in Harrisburg. What's the talk as far as PennCon? Maybe Dr. J and you, one of you.
Well, whenever I've reported on PlanCon, I've kind of reported with a glass half full kind of report. So take what I have to say with the grain of salt that it's intended to, because I'm always thinking from what the people in Harrisburg are telling the architects that do the school work is PlanCon is still a viable program. As projects reach their maximum reimbursement and fall off at the end of their 20 years, that money is still rolled back into the program. The program is still level funded, and this is all with the current government. So more money is becoming available. Eventually that money trickles down through the projects. In the old days, you would have started, as soon as you got your J approval, you could start getting your reimbursement. Now they're waiting until funds become available, and they're holding the approvals at that level. But with the new administration coming in, who knows? But worst case scenario, from what the state is telling us, is that it's still level funded, and eventually all the projects that are in the pipeline will start to receive their reimbursement. That's what they're telling us. You can take it for what that's worth.
If I could add to that too, all I can tell is that the present governor is in support of PlanCon and would like to see increased funding available, particularly for those districts that have already invested money and are not being compensated in the sequence of compensation. But there's also that there are apparently not enough votes at this stage. So whether it's going to go anywhere, the realignment of the state representatives' houses is not favorable for that. So it's hard to tell. It's gonna be
Right.
another battle.
It doesn't appear like they're going to be passing any budgets to increase the funding, but if they continue level funding it, eventually, we're told the money should be there eventually, but it's not 2 or 3 years down the road. It's extended depending on how far back on the list you are.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, yep.
All right, next week, under athletics and extracurricular, we're gonna ask you to accept resignations, employee personnel, approve volunteer coaches. Under budget and finance, approve expenditures for the high school renovation project according to the schedule. Under buildings, ground, and safety, to employee personnel. We won't have any items under employee relations, negotiations, or the food service. Under personnel and curriculum, approve substitute teachers and support personnel, employee personnel, accept resignation, approve leave request, formally adopt 2015-2016 school calendar, formally adopt 2015-2016 service employees calendar. Danny, just a few things to point out, that we're actually still starting 7 days prior to Labor Day. It seems like we're starting later because of Labor Day being so late. Our first day of instruction will be Thursday, August 27th. But it's still 7 days prior to Labor Day. It's just when Labor Day falls. And we're still getting out the 27th of May, which is before Memorial Day. And our graduation's that Thursday, again, due to all the construction projects at the high school, as well as the conflict with the parking situation for the Friday night baseball game.
Just a note, Dr. Harris, you mentioned graduation. You know, this year, the auditorium will be out of commission because of construction. So hopefully we'll be at the stadium, which we always are, but our backup plan is to be in the gymnasium, just so everybody knows. Mr. Aquilio is putting a plan together to make sure that the gymnasium is ready for graduation.
No rain this year, please. Under policy, public relations, legislative 2, accept the resignation of the PTARC representative, final approval of the revised board policy 252, tentative approval of the revised board policies and regulations, and under taxes, insurance, census, approve request to sell property and unsold property.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harris. Now it's time for recognition of visitors. It is now, the following rules are in effect. You must state your name, address, and group affiliation. If any, your statement will be limited to 5 minutes in duration. All statements shall be directed to the president, and no participant may address or question a board member individually. I may interrupt your statement if your statement is too lengthy, personally direct, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. We have one sign up tonight, Sally Bradley. Mrs. Bradley.
Yes. Okay, Sally Bradley, 847 State Route 130 in Level Green. 2 comments. So one is really quick. The second one is much more involved. Next Wednesday, the 14th, the Friends of the Penn Area Library is having a fundraiser at Giuseppe's Restaurant. So hopefully you all go there and eat. We get 10% of your dinner check, and all the money we raise goes to the library within a year. So hopefully you'll be there eating with your families. Secondly, and please take this as trying to understand something, because I'm confused. I do not mean it as a criticism. But I do not understand this thing with the bus route that we had out there. At the first meeting in November, Mr. Ingles stated that it opened, but it was kind of bumpy. And I'm not sure what this entailed. But okay, so there were problems with it. The second meeting, we find out that it's costing $16,900. I think I'm remembering the figure. But anyhow, that was to solve whatever problem we had. I'm not sure why we were paying $16,900 to solve a problem that had just been built. Secondly, 2 days later, I read in the paper, Penn Trafford News, it was quoting Mr. Leonard as saying that there have been changes made in the specifications, but apparently not all contractors received those changes. So how did not every contractor get the current accurate information? So then my next concern is, was the lowest bid actually the lowest bid? the second or third lowest bid might have been lower when you add the cost, the initial cost, plus the 16.9. You know, what would have been the lowest bid? And hopefully we're not sued by anybody. Then my final concern is, did anybody read the bids that came in? I mean, how do we have a bid that didn't meet specifications? That I don't understand. And somehow, you know, when you make the motion, it's like we accept the bid, the lowest bid that made specifications. But that wasn't what happened, so I'm really confused. And I realize that, you know, personally, to me, $16,900 is a lot of dollars. But in the scope of renovating, adding on to the school, $16,900 is very minor. And I know there are change orders and overruns, but I don't understand this one. And we're only 1/4 of the way into the project, and we could have more things like that. Yeah, because we just went through a bridge repair that took forever. And I hope we don't have that occurring with the school. So if anybody can address my concerns, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I can help you out. You had a lot of questions there, so I'm not sure if I can.
Yeah, if you miss something, I'll let you know.
But I'm gonna ask Hank to help me out on some of these issues too. But first of all, you know, the road, as you can see, was designed that way to accommodate the drainage, the water runoff, okay? So that's why it is the way it is out there. The contractor, our construction manager, and Axis Architecture agreed to pay for the costs associated with the changes in the design of that road. So the district didn't pay anything extra for that road. There were problems with the documents going out to the contractors, and the bidding and whatnot, but the bids was awarded to Low Bar Construction. Low Bar Construction was awarded a bid of $10,800,000. It includes everything, you know, and part of that bid included the road. So it was embedded in that. So Low Bar owns building that road and hiring whoever, the site person, the paver, whomever to do it. But there were specifications written as to how that road was designed, and that's where I'm gonna let Hank.
Oh, and Sally, to answer your question about the $16,000 number, the next lowest general contractor wasn't within $16,000 of the lowest bid number, so that wouldn't have come into play anyway. But the changes that were made were things that neither one of the contractors would have had. So it wouldn't have come into play for two different reasons. One, neither of the contractor would have had that work, and secondly, the numbers weren't within $16,000 of each other. Does that answer that portion of your question?
I think so. So you're saying initially we weren't paying for the bus thing?
That small portion. The bus loop was a lot more than a $16,000 price tag. That
Right.
small portion was initially not.
Yeah, the bus loop was at least a six-figure job. It was more than that to build that. But the changes that were associated with designing it to accommodate the water drainage was $16,900.
But we didn't know we were going to have the water drainage problem?
The district didn't know that. We were made aware of that once they started to redesign the road or build the road. There was issues with the width of the road. It was originally designed at 24 feet. We wanted it to be 30 feet. And with that, there was issues with where the water was draining and how it was going to be improved for the township to catch all the water retention requirements that we had. So it had to be redesigned in a way to accommodate those issues and also to take care of all the water drainage. But the thing from the beginning, the road, we didn't have the road designed the way it needed to be designed from the beginning, and we had to redesign it as we saw the problem associated with it. And there was about a $16,900 cost associated with that. And as I said, the architect, construction manager, and contractor absorbed those costs.
Okay, thank you.
And since my name was mentioned during the dialogue, I think I have one thing else also to add. Whoever the contractor, whether it's the current bidder, the next lowest bidder, this same issue probably would have arisen in the same manner when it hadn't been addressed in a similar manner.
That was the point I was trying to make.
So there wouldn't have been a differential. The 16,000 issue in this case probably would have been there regardless of the guy that did it now or whoever else could have been. So I don't think it would have any effect on the next lowest bidder.
Okay, thank you. As I said, I was just confused.
Okay, that's all we have, signed up to speak. At this time, I'd like to call for adjournment of the meeting at 7:42.
Second.